Hi, I'm Steve Rose. I've been a chef for 38 years, was the owner of the greenest restaurant in the entire San Francisco Bay Area, and now I'm a farmer here at Rose Ranch. We do things green around here. What sets me apart is that green is not just a buzzword like a lot of people use. Green is an operative word, and it really is easy to do. I'm going to share with you my secrets on how to do this at home. We're going to have fun, and living green, living truly green, is really a blast. I believe that people want to learn how to live this way, they just don't know how to go about it. And that's the whole purpose of the show, is to teach people how to do it. I'm going to show you the way, show you the pathway to green living. Welcome to the Organic Rose. Hi, you must be Bonnie.
You must be Steve.
I am.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us over here.
Thanks for coming.
So you're keeping bees. Why do you do that?
Why do we do that? Well, it started as a hobby that got obsessive very quickly. And really we started at first because we were gardeners, saw a lot of bees, saw that our neighbor had bees, and it looked like a lot of fun.
I'm not really familiar with beekeeping, so kind of go through all the steps for us as far as how do you keep bees, how do you start? And yeah, go through all the steps.
Well, the best way to get started is to get educated. So buy a book, join a local beekeeping organization. There are so many new beekeepers now, and the fact of the matter is all of our bees are out there interacting with each other. They're flying, on average maybe 3 miles to forage.
Wow.
They spread pests and diseases amongst each other. So it's great that beekeeping has spread in popularity, but at the same time there's a downside to that. So people really need to take responsibility for learning good bee husbandry and know about all the pests and diseases and problems that bees face so they can intervene so that they're protecting not only their bees but their neighbors' bees.
How many bees in a hive?
That's going to vary based on the season. So a lot of the new colonies, packages, or a nucleus colony may have somewhere about 5,000 to 10,000 bees in it. That could grow up to 60,000 or more during the peak of summer. And then that colony is going to decrease in size for winter to maybe 10,000, 20,000, depending on the type of bee and their health.
Tending bees, does it take a lot of maintenance on your part?
I would say not so much maintenance on our part as much as the time involved in just education and learning about bee diseases and, like I said, good bee husbandry.
Tell me a day in the life of a bee.
A day in the life of the bee. Well, it depends what type of bee you are. So you're gonna start off if you're so there's queens, workers, and drones.
Okay, explain the differences to me.
So there's one queen in the colony. She is usually just one queen. She is responsible for laying all the eggs in the colony, and during a time of year like this, when there's lots of nectar and pollen available, she may lay up to 2,000 eggs a day. Her whole life is about laying eggs, and she's the only one that has fertilized eggs so she can make more worker bees. So all the bees in the colony are her sons and daughters.
That's a big family.
That's a big family. So most of the bees are going to be worker bees.
Okay.
As the name suggests, they do all the work. These are the females. And they start out life chewing themselves out of their cells. They emerge, no help from their sisters, and then get right to work. Cleaning cells, taking care of the queen, processing honey in the colony, making wax. And then about halfway through their life, so for her first 3 weeks at this time of year, that's what she does. And then about halfway through her life, she transitions to become a forager bee. And then she goes out in the big wide world and is looking for pollen and nectar and propolis and water.
Tell me about the bee boxes, if that's what they're called.
Yeah, so they're hives, so a colony. So a colony is that group we talked about, a queen, her workers, and all of her sons living together. And that colony lives in a hive. We use what are called Langstroth boxes, which have 10 frames and removable frames. And the size of the hive, as we'll see, some are smaller, some are bigger, is based on how populous the hive is. So in the summer, we'll be adding boxes to give them more space, to hopefully prevent them from swarming. And in the winter, we'll remove boxes to give them less space to keep warm.
So you're building and reducing almost like condos. You're just stacking, right? And then taking away?
Yeah, that's a simple way to do it. I mean, you do need to sometimes move frames around to keep the brood area open, so the area where they have their young, because that's congestion in that area is what causes swarming. But simply put, yes, it is kind of like a condo. You're adding and subtracting.
Interesting. Well, can we go ahead and take a look?
Absolutely. So we're gonna put on some equipment before we get in.
Okay.
The most important thing we're going to be wearing is our veil.
Okay.
So bees, if they do feel defensive, are looking for your weak point, and they can sense carbon dioxide, so they might go for your face. So that's why we wear veils. It doesn't sound as scary as it is. Actually, we rarely have bees that come up to our veils, but of course, that's not a place we want to get stung. So
No.
just to be safe, we'll wear a veil. How much equipment we wear is really based on your comfort level.
Okay.
I plan to just wear my shirt, my veil, and no gloves. It's spring and the bees are really busy. They have better things to do than be defensive in the hive. Sometimes later.
Did you say bee defensive?
Oh, that was a bad joke. Yeah. But at different times of the year, like in the fall when there's fewer resources and they're getting ready for winter, I might wear more gear just
Okay.
because they might be a little more defensive.
So what would the rest of the gear consist of?
I wear as little as I need to.
Okay.
Simply because it's hot, and I prefer to wear as little as possible. I prefer to be able to manipulate the frames with my bare hands as opposed to large gloves.
I may stand back a little bit.
Well, maybe for the first one, I think you'll get right in there though, pretty quickly.
Let's go. Can we take a look?
Let's take a look.
All right.
So Steve is wearing a half suit and some full gloves because he hasn't been around bees before, so he feels a little more comfortable in more gear, which is great if he needs more gear. Bees actually communicate with chemicals, and so chemical signals. So if Steve's not comfortable, the bees won't be comfortable. So we want him to feel comfortable. I'm wearing a veil. Just a simple veil and no gloves. I prefer not to wear gloves when I don't have to. I would rather be able to feel the frames as I'm working them, and you crush fewer bees when you're not wearing heavy gloves. So we're going to get our smoker lit before we go in. Bees communicate chemically, so smoke is going to help us mask any alarm pheromones and keep them a little calmer. So if for some reason one of us gets stung, I would pull out the stinger and I'd smoke that as well. Yeah.
I can tell that you're really having fun doing this and you're very passionate about it.
Oh, my husband Gary and I love our bees. We got started in not that long ago in 2007, but it became obsessive pretty quickly. Had our second hive within a week and started our bee business 4 short years later.
Wow.
Okay, so I'm just going to put a little puff in the front door. Doesn't take much.
Okay. And what does it actually do to them? Does it sedate them a bit?
Well, there's a couple different theories on that, but one thing it definitely does is, like I said, it masks their ability to send alarm pheromones to each other. So take the top off here.
Okay.
This is a pretty young colony. That was
Young meaning how young?
that just started this season.
Wow.
So you can see there's not a whole lot of bees up top here. But let's get in and take a look and see what's happening on some of these frames. So,
I've never seen so many bees in my life.
and this isn't that many. So look at that.
Wow.
That's nectar. That's all new comb. Isn't that beautiful?
Oh, it's gorgeous.
They've just made that in the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
So we're here in May, and there's a strong nectar flow on, especially after our wet winter. And it takes a lot of honey to make comb, about 8 pounds of honey to make 1 pound of wax. So they really only can make wax when there's a lot of nectar coming in. And here in Marin, our season usually is about February to May for that. And then once our hills brown up, the comb building stops for the season.
Okay.
So pollen, can you see the pollen there?
Yeah.
Different colors
Yeah.
and some larvae. Would you like to hold a frame?
Sure.
So, oh, wait, let go for a second. What you want to do is be careful that you're not grabbing bees. So come on the side here, up above. There you go. So what do you think? How does that feel?
Man, I thought I'd be really scared, but I'm not. I mean, I'm in the suit, so. But I really thought I was going to be a lot more scared than I am. That's amazing. They're in their own little world, just doing their thing and not even bothered by us.
Nope. So that's honey, capped honey.
Interesting. So is that down there then too?
Yeah, we saw a lot of what we saw down below was nectar.
Okay.
So still getting ripened into honey. So, Steve, I wanted to show you the queen. Can you find her? She moves differently, and her abdomen is longer. This isn't the biggest queen I've ever seen, but she's still a queen. Find her yet?
No.
Not yet. Right in that corner. Oh, she's hiding.
Oh.
See her walking there?
Yep.
Here she comes. So she was actually, this colony replaced their queen at the end of winter. So she's the new queen. But as
She is quite a bit longer. Huh.
lots of interesting things going on in this frame, including not only the queen, but there's a new bee chewing her way out right now.
I'll be damned.
See that?
Yeah.
If that other little bee, her sister, would get off her, we could see her.
I see her.
Yeah, there's a few on this frame that are doing that. I'm just going to put it down here so I can point them out.
And you said none of
here.
none of her sisters will help her either, huh?
Nope, they're on their own. Also in this frame, so we can see the brood in the center, and there's honey here in the corners. And all of this wax was built this season, so they've been busy. In fact, this little colony overwintered just in 5 frames, so half of this lower box. So let's put Mom back. Where'd she go? I want to make sure she's safe before I put this frame back. There she is, down at the bottom.
Oh, I see her right there.
Yeah, so I don't want to put her back when she's right down there. Wouldn't be a good idea to squish Mom.
No.
She's looking a little slim, and they're backfilling this frame with honey. I'm going to make sure they're not thinking about leaving.
Why would they leave?
Because they're congested. Look how busy they are in here. They need another box.
Oh, so you'll just simply put another box on top of this one?
Yeah, as long as we make sure that they're not making swarm cells.
They are busy.
They are busy. Look at all those drones on the side. See all those big? And that's a queen cup at the bottom, but there's no one home, so that's good. So, you know, a lot of people are concerned about bees and ask about what they can do to help bees. And we like to remind them that you don't need to keep bees to help bees. Really, the best thing you can do is provide good habitat and forage in your garden for all sorts of pollinators. So looking around here, you can see we've left some things that some people consider weeds. Little milkweed,
Right.
some fennel. These are great for pollinators. In fact, this fennel blooms at a time in the summer when very little else is blooming here in Marin. So not only does it provide food for the bees, not just our honeybees, but also native bees.
Plus you can cook with it.
You can cook with it, and if you let it go to seed, it provides food for the birds in the fall.
Nice. Yeah, you have quite the array of flowers here with all the different bright colors. You can see why bees love to be here. Be here.
All right, well, I'm going to put these girls back, but I think
Okay.
later we're going to give them some more space. Give them a little smoke, move them out of my way so I don't trap them there in that wax. at all those bees there. They're making wax. You can see how that nice, when it's white like that, it's brand new. And they've already, not only have they made it, they've filled it with nectar already. But you can see just by moving slowly, they get out of my way and aren't getting hurt and are being pretty tolerant of us.
They really are. I'm very surprised at that.
You must be getting hot in that suit. Yeah. Are you ready for more bees, or are you ready for a glass of water?
A glass of water and ice cold beer. So you'll just set another box right on, you'll leave the lid off, put another box on top of there, and then put the lid on that?
We'll come back underneath and probably pull the frame up from down
okay.
below to help bring them up into the box.
Bonnie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks so much for visiting.
It's
a pleasure.
It's been great, and once again, I'll use the word amazing.
You're welcome anytime.
Excellent. Well, you'll see me for sure.
I hope so.
I had a great time, and next time I'm going to do it with just the veil.
Excellent.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye. Wow, I am buzzed. It was so much fun being at the bee farm at Bonnie's. I learned so much, and bees are amazing what they do and the creatures that they are. They're capable of so many things. I learned so much today. I knew a little bit about bees. We did try our hand at keeping bees for a while, but I just learned so much. She gave me so much takeaway, and I'm going to share a little recipe with you now. So before we start with the recipe, honey is very interesting. There's a multitude of honeys that are derived from different plant sources throughout the world. This particular one is an avocado honey. So the bees that are working the avocado trees ended up making this honey. This honey here would be a grape honey, because this honey's from our bees from our organic vineyard. Let me go ahead and close that for a second. I don't know if some of you know, but there's real honey, which these two are, and there's imitation fake honey throughout the world. Not so much in the United States, but in other parts of the world. They are actually factories that have housed these bees that they raise, and they feed them corn syrup. And the bees then produce this honey, but it's not really honey, it's fake, because it's essence they're feeding them corn syrup. These bees are not allowed to go out and do their work and harvest the honey and harvest the pollen out at the different plants. They're just in these factories. So if you see honey in a store that's really, really inexpensive, I would stay away from it. How to tell if it's real? I'll show you. You take some honey. I've got a little dish of just tepid tap water. Okay? Now, I'm going to put a little spoonful of honey in it. If the honey sinks to the bottom and stays together in one piece, it's real. If you drop it in there and it dissipates and dissolves in the water, it's fake. So let's give this a try. There you go. It's real. It just stuck right together. So that's a good thing. All right, let's set that over there and out of the way. I'm going to create one of my dishes that I really, really love. And it's kind of different. It's kind of unique. I'm going to be using some unique spices as well. So I've got a saute pan here. It's going to heat up a bit. While it's heating, I'll tell you about my ingredients. It's going to be fresh cherries that we got at the farmer's market. And I'm going to go ahead and pit the cherries. It goes in there. And So you definitely want to pit the cherries. Fresh cherries are, the season doesn't last very long, but when you can get them, it's a good thing. Cherry pie made out of fresh cherries is amazing. It's one of my favorites. I've got some nice organic butter here. I'm going to put it in this warm saute pan and allow it to melt. So this is fresh pineapple. You can use it in season, which it is right now, or you can can it or bag it and freeze it. It freezes very well. I'm going to go ahead and place these cherries in there. Let me tell you about a spice that I'm going to use today. This is called Chinese 5-spice. It has fennel in it, it has cloves in it, it has ginger in it, it has star anise in it, and it has cinnamon in it. So it's 5 different ingredients. It's very prevalent in Asian cooking, but we're going to give it a different little slant here. It's going to be going in with these cherries. It's very, very strong. The flavors permeate quite a bit, so you don't want to use a lot. Actually, this is way too much. So I'm going to put a little bit in the pan on the cherries. All right. And then we get the cherries moving around here. The honey I'm going to add. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little bit of our honey, the grape honey, and I'm going to use a little bit of the avocado honey. So it's going to give it a little mixture flavor. Let's put the pineapple in, juice and all. Whoops, one snuck out. Turn the heat up some more. See, I can already smell that 5-spice incorporating with the melted butter and the pineapple. That smells delicious. So the sauce in there, the pan sauce as it were, is kind of thin right now because it hasn't been allowed to reduce and it hasn't had the honey in it yet. Once it gets nice and hot, we're going to add the honey. And here I'm going to add a little bit of salt. Salt does wonders for pineapple. It kind of cuts the acidity down a little bit. I had an aunt of mine that would eat pineapple all the time when it was in season, and she would always salt the hell out of it. I could never understand why, but now I know. Okay, that should be enough. Put the lid back on that. See, it's starting to simmer now. Getting ready to put the honey in it. So we'll put in the avocado honey first. Come on. Come on. Okay. And I'll stir it with this spoon because that way the honey that's on the spoon will melt a bit. Oh, this is starting to look amazing. Okay, and here's our honey. I'm going to put a little bit of pollen in here too. It smells like, oh, does that look good. See, the sauce is starting to thicken now. It's ready to go. Turn the fire off on it. Turn the bowl over. Sprinkle a little bit of this on there for the garnish as well, some of the pollen. And there you have it. Buen provecho and enjoy.